All right, I wanted to get this recorded as well, just in case some people miss it, and you're able to find this presentation as well as other presentations on the Navionics website. This webinar is sponsored by Navionics, and I'd like to have a good shout out to Navionics for posting these different presentations, both saltwater as well as freshwater, and there are some geared towards scuba diving, skiing, as well as boating. We have one of our specialists, a sailboater, one of our specialists scuba diving, and we have a specialist for skiing. So there's a variety of webinars that are available to you guys and ladies. And also ones that we've already done are recorded, and there's a library on navionics.com in order to find them. So tonight's presentation is wireline strategies for striped bass. I'm going to pretty much give you guys a entry level as well. Hopefully I'll have some good tips on for the more experienced anglers that use wireline, but for most it's really to get started using wireline for striped bass. My name is Captain Anthony Grassi, and my company is Fin Chaser Charters. I'm also the Navionics saltwater marine specialist in the Northeast. I pretty much cover everything from Cape May to New York City and out to Montauk. So why wireline? I know wireline fishing isn't everybody's favorite, but if you want big bass, you got to think deep. And again, wireline might not be my first approach, but it is a very effective way to fish if you know what you're doing, and you can consistently catch big bass doing it. We've won a couple of good tournaments last year, or placed in the top 5 using wireline fishing. And a lot of top tournament fishermen have been catching big stripers consistently using wire. And one of the reasons is because you're able to control the depth in which you're fishing. And hopefully it'll be a great way of utilizing the whole day, not just daybreak or dusk to fish for striped bass, but you can extend your day to pretty much all day fishing. And these are the reasons why. Constantly you're catching big bass. Now, this presentation might seem like an ad for Maja products, but Tony Maja, who's right here, pictured here with this striped bass, he has been fishing with wireline for a very long time, and he has designed a product line that is a very effective products for fishing with wire. So not only is trolling wire a great way of getting a lure into the zone, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in another slide, but it also lets you cover a lot of areas. Because you're trolling, you're able to cover a lot of different depths. You're able to cover a greater area, and it helps you find the fish. As you can see on the right, this is a snapshot of the area that I concentrate on fishing. This is actually off my mobile app, and with the satellite overlay. Most of my fishing is in this area right here, which is Ocean and Monmouth County, New Jersey, Sandy Hook, and the Raritan Bay, New York Harbor. And we'll go down as far south as Barnegat in a typical tournament that is in this area. So let's get started. What's the equipment that we like to use on the fin chaser? And there are a lot of different personalities in what people would want to use for fishing with wire. A lot of people that maybe only take out their wire line gear once in a while may not want to spend a lot of money into their equipment because they're going to use it as a backup to other types of fishing. But we on the fin chasers, we like to have the top gear always, especially when we are fishing tournaments. So there are a couple of different reel options when coming to wireline fishing. Pretty much the most common reel that people use is the Penn 113 H2SP. It's a reel that was designed for wireline fishing. It has a star drag. It is the go-to reel for most wireline fishermen. We also have the Shimano TLD25, which is a lever drag reel, and we tend to like the lever drag reels better because we are able to tighten the tension depending on the amount of wire we have out, as well as what size lure we are trolling. Also available, Canyon Reels has a Tony Maja signature series reel that has been out for a couple of years, and Canyon Reels makes a couple of good models of reels. This is one that Tony designed specifically for wireline fishing. Pretty much any 4.0 size trolling reel could work when setting up for a wireline outfit. Now, note with as any wireline reel, rod, any of your gear with wireline, it has to be cleaned and maintained after every use. And one of the products that I like to use is called Corrosion Block. I usually get it in the spray can right here. And when we're done fishing and I wash everything down, I'll give it a good spray, and it'll keep all your gear in tip-top shape. Especially, again, if you're not using this equipment all the time, it's good to properly maintain your equipment. Also, another good tip is at the end of the season, you should always remove your wire line. We go through a lot of wire line every year, you know, because we're fishing those structured areas and we get snagged a lot. So we're constantly replacing our wire. But it's a good idea that, as with all saltwater gear, that you take care of it. I also like to use this spray on the guides of the rods, also the reel seats, to keep it from corroding. Now, my favorite rod is a 8-foot one-piece trolling rod, and again, Maja's custom bunker rod is a very good rod to use, and it's because when you're trolling with bunker spoons, the action of the tip is the most important thing. If your rod is too stiff, you won't transfer that action down to your lure. And I took a little video clip of trolling last fall and what you're looking for when you're trolling. Let's see how this comes out and how it'll come across on the webinar. So as you can see, we're trolling approximately 4 knots. As you can see, we're using outriggers, but notice the action on the tip, okay? How it has that nice bounce. And only quality rods will do that. Again, don't get stuck purchasing an inexpensive rod because you're not going to use it a lot. You're not going to get this type of action. These rods are specifically designed for that. Now you also notice, let me just give a quick, what type of structure, depths we're fishing. In right now we're fishing in 32 feet, and where are we marking the fish? Right here towards the bottom. Okay, and then above you have these pods of bunker, and then in between you'll have some fish going after these pods of bunker. And when you notice before with the rod tip, you notice they had an erratic action at one point, and that was because the wire was actually hitting into the school of bunker that we were trolling through. And that's our electronics on our 26 regulator. You also notice right here, Captain Frank is consistently adjusting our gear. It's helpful that you have one or two people in the back working the rods, because if you're going in one direction with the current, your speeds are going to change a little bit, and you're going to want to adjust the rod. When you're going into the current, again, you're going to want to adjust and make sure that your lure is in the target zone. Also, if you notice here, we use an outrigger to keep our rods away from, and the gear away from the boat. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about that in another clip, because it's a very important tool when fishing with wire. Okay, and you could see thumbs are usually always on the reel. Again, adjusting the amount of wire that's out there. Also, very important tool right here, gear, is the safety clip. Okay, good quality safety line clipped onto your reel. It's long enough that you're able to take the rod out of the rod holder. Now, if you notice on this outrigger made by Maja, it has a pin, and this is the only outriggers that have that, where you could take the pin out and stand the rod up, because a lot of the older outriggers were solid, and you're not able to you have to push the rod away from the edge of the boat. What's great about these is if you're hooked up on a fish and there's a lot of tension, because you could have a 30, 40, 50-pound fish at the other end. You have 300 feet of wire out there. You have a weighted lure that could be 8 to 16 ounces. It's easier to take the rod out of the holder when you pull the pin, stand up the rod holder, and then now you're lifting the rod straight up instead of pulling it off the side of the boat. So that's just the remaining of the clip. Again, always communicating with the captain, always finding out the depth of the water. Are we going, you gotta be at least a couple of 100 yards always ahead of yourself, because if you're coming up to structure that may go from 30 feet up to 15 feet, if you don't adjust those rods, you're going to be snagging that wire into those rock piles or wrecks or any of these snags that you might be fishing around. So it's very important. And you'll hear us constantly on our boat calling, all right, what's our depth? What's our speed? What do we see ahead of us? What's our direction? Is there traffic? Is there boats ahead of you that's trolling towards you, trolling across? You're always communicating with your crew when wireline fishing. Okay, a very important feature of a rod. So you can't just use any rod, and you'll learn real quick if you get your, basic any type of boat rod and throw a reel on it and throw a wire on it. And what's going to happen within the first time you're going out is that the wire line will dig into your guides. So you want to make sure that the rod is designed for wireline fishing, and you're going to use either a carbide or a carbaloid guide up in the right-hand corner is the most popular type of guide that's on most companies' wireline rods. There are, if you're in the New Jersey area and you want a very specific type of rod, in Point Pleasant, Kevin Bogan is probably one of the best rod builders in our area for wireline rods. He has very good glass blanks that has people have used over the years. Depending on the different types of trolling, I'll have different custom rods built for them. The Maja 8-foot rod is really specifically used for trolling bunker spoons. And that's because you want that soft tip to give that big spoon action in the water to look like a large bunker. Now, I like to use, there's a couple of different types of trolling wire. You have stainless. Monel is my favorite. It's soft. It doesn't kink as much. I prefer to use 40-pound test wire. I usually get them in these large spools because, again, in the beginning of, before every tournament, we like to change our wire, make sure there's no kinks in them. That's really the enemy of fishing wire line, is if you get those little kinks, because what'll happen is you'll let out your line and all of a sudden the wire just snaps, and that's because there's kinks in the line. So it's very important on how you stack your wire, how you retrieve your wire, that you always constantly touch the wire as you're reeling them in, so that you can make sure that there's no kinks in the wire. But there's a couple of different brands of Monel trolling wire. Again, I like to buy it in the large spools. So prior to a tournament, you may see me on a football field laying out the wire to measure it, to mark it. I like to mark the wire every 100 feet. So I'll have a different color for each 100 feet that I measure out. Some of the lines will come in a pre-measured spool that it's just easier. It'll be 100 yards, 300 feet, and then you'll know, you could put the, to put the wire on, and you don't have to, again, measure it. Okay, so how much wire? So roughly the mathematical equation for wire is that it's one depth for every 10 feet out, okay? And that's also considering that you may have a little current, you're trolling about 4 knots. Letting all of your 300 feet of wire should get, with a 2 to 3 ounce lure, should get you down to about 32 feet. Now, one of the best wire depth charts is on the majaproducts.com and Wireline Trolling Info. There's a lot of helpful tips on his website, and there's a great chart that'll show you the length of line you have out, the ounce of lures that you're using, pretty much the average knots that you're going to be trolling for striped bass is about 4 knots. If you troll faster than 4 knots, a lot of times you'll start catching the bluefish, and also your lures will start lifting up and not stay down in the target zone that you want to fish. So again, this is why wireline is very effective, because it can get down and stay down in those deeper ranges. When we're fishing even deeper water, we could, we'll add a weighted drail also to the line, or we'll use a large, a heavier weight lure. But again, this webinar is being recorded, so when you want to come back to find some more information, if I've gone too quick through it, you could find this web address for the this chart, and again, it'll tell you how much line, weight, speed, and what depth you should be in. So how we rig our wireline outfits, we try to put it 200 feet of 50-pound. We use Cortland Dacron backing. It's a little thicker than using regular mono, or if you're using braid, I'd rather use a product that's Dacron. You can see up here in the upper right, this spool right here, it usually has these striped lines in it. It's easier to tie to, and also if the fish really takes you down into this line, you know that you're going to have a strong enough backing for abrasion and things like that. And then we put the 300 feet of 40-pound wire, the Monel, and depending on the lures that we are trolling, we could put out anywhere from 5 to 15 feet of a quality 50-pound mono. You really don't need to use fluorocarbon in this application. The regular mono probably is stronger to use. It's you know, especially if you're going into the sand or if you're going over pieces of structure, it's probably stronger than your typical fluorocarbon leaders. So, and again, you're constantly changing them out because you're fishing in these areas, you know, 2-3 feet off the bottom, and you're constantly either getting snagged with, you know, on a reef or on structure. And the great thing about wire is most of the times that you do get snagged, you're able to go back over it, and you're able to get your lures back out of the structure. But again, 5 to 15 feet of a 50-pound mono. So the way to do it is, first, when you have a basic reel, you want to fill the reel halfway with the 50, 60-pound test Dacron, okay? And at the end of the Dacron, you want to tie on, there's two ways of doing it. One is you could get a very small, low-profile ball-bearing swivel to tie your Dacron to, and anything around the 180-pound test, size 3, you could use. And your guides are strong on those carbaloid guides, so you're not worried about when you're reeling in ball bearing the swivels through the guides, because they're not going to do any damage at all to them. Okay, so I like to use the swivels because it prevents your lines from twisting, especially when you're fishing bunker schools. Excuse me. And those bunker spoons a lot of times will spin a little bit if you're trolling too fast. So having a few different swivels could protect your wire. It could protect your Dacron from getting kinks in them. Or you could create a bimini twist, blood knot bimini twist. You could make a 2 or 3 foot loop, and then you could then connect your wire to it, either using a haywire twist, or there's an Albright knot you could use as well if you want to tie direct to your line. Most of the time, I use the haywire twist to the swivel. It's pretty quick to do, and it also has a low profile. So when you're reeling it out or reeling it back in, or you're letting the line out or reeling it back in, you don't get snagged on the tip of the rod. And then after you put on your 300 feet of wire, or as much as that you wanted to use, you could connect the wire to the leader, again using an Albright knot or another low profile swivel. And then at the end of your leader, you could put a quality low profile snap swivel. The snap swivel, though, has to be big enough because a lot of times these lures have large openings that a small swivel won't be able to open big enough to the to connect to the lures. Now, one of the things, one of my tips for making a haywire twist, as you can see in the right-hand side of the screen, you want to, when you put the wire through the swivel, you want to spread the tag line to the main line apart, and then you do twists. And you don't want the tag line to roll over it. You want to kind of create this braid feature here almost evenly to, you could do it about 6-7 times. And then your tag line is now at a 90-degree angle. And then again, you do another 5 or 6 twists, but you're using a tight wrap, okay? Now, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll just take their pliers and try to get as close to this wrap as possible. But because on our boat, we're constantly feeling the wire as the wire goes out and comes back in because we're looking for nicks, we're looking for little kinks in the line. What I like to do is create this like again, another 90-degree angle and off the line. And then what you do is you kind of twist it around and until you'll get a clean break. And you could roll your fingertips across this and you're not going to get cut. If you cut it with a pair of pliers, I don't care how close you're going to try to get to it, there's still going to be a little piece and you're going to cut yourself really bad if you're letting the line out or applying tension to your wire. So bend the wire here at 45 degrees and then twist it and it'll snap off. And make sure that there are no sharp edges, okay? No sharp edges. So we were talking about before of using outrodders, and this again is the reason why I like to use them, is because you're able to lift and remove the rod out easily. In our arsenal, we usually have 2 sets. What's nice about these, if you see this notch here in the right, when you put it in the rod holder and give it a little twist, that little bar that's in your rod holder, it'll snap right in and you won't be able to remove the outrodder out. Here's the pin that you would stick inside the side here, and then a fish hooks up, and then you pull the pin, and then you bring the rod holder up, and then you put the pin back. And now it's easy to remove the rod. You're not leaning over the gunnel to remove the rod, so there's a good chance that you're not going to drop it overboard, especially if there's a big fish on. And it's very quick to use. Also, a quality rod safety line. Most fishing that we do offshore and wire trolling, we have safety lines for all of our rods, especially if you're fishing structure areas where you're going to get snags. I mean, if you're not getting snags every once in a while with these big shad rigs or bunker spoons, you're not fishing in the right depths. So you're going to get occasional snags, and you want to make sure that your drags are set properly and that you have safety lines. So what we like to troll, one of our, especially in the fall, spring and fall, our go-tos are the bunker spoons. And these are large bunker spoons. Remember, we're trying to imitate a large Menhaden, which could be 12 to 14 inches long. They're large profiles. Also colors. Here's a like chartreuse and yellow combo. I like to troll the chartreuse or white colors. These are weighted keels, okay? And also You have large swash hooks with some bucktail tied to it. Make sure your hooks are always sharpened. You'll notice this one is a smaller profile, and this will imitate more of the herring. So if you know there are herring around, I would go to the number 3 because it is narrower, which kind of looks like a herring. If you're in big schools of large bunker, I would go with the number 4. And these are big spoons. I mean, these are, you know, 8-inch, 15-ounce spoons. This is a 7.5-ounce, 9-ounce spoon. So, you know, you're trolling these weighted keeled bunker spoons. And what they're going to do is they're going to slide, you know, kind of slide and look like an injured bunker as it's going through the schools of fish. And the important thing when you're trolling bunker spoons is that you're monitoring the tip of your rod to make sure it has that slow pulsing action like you saw in that short video. You're going to see the rod tip do this because what's happening is the bunker spoon is doing that type of action, and that's important. So you're going to adjust your speed with the way that the lure is reacting. And this is one of the few lures that you have to do that with, okay? It's important that you do that because if you're not mimicking this, what do you call it? Mimicking the way this is, it's not going to work, okay? All right, another rig that we like to use is these shad rigs, okay? One of the best companies out there that makes a quality umbrella rig or shad rigs is Niners. If you've gone to most outdoor shows in the Northeast, from Atlantic City to Rissa in Rhode Island, you'll see the Niners guys there, and they make a quality umbrella rig. The guy makes it right there in the basement of his house. They're all what do you call it? They're all hand put together. Yeah, they come in multiple colors, multiple sizes. These, I believe, are the 6 or 7-inch shads. They make them up to 9-inch shads. Some of them have spinners on them. He makes dozens of different varieties, and as you could see, dozens of different colors of the lures. Depending on the tournament, some of the tournaments that we're fishing, you could only have one hook. So we may have all these being teasers, and your back will have the stinger. Or if it doesn't matter, you could have a combination of teasers and hooks. But I've used many different brands of shad rigs, umbrella rigs, and the Niners is by far one of the best qualities, and we've caught many, many fish on these. You could also change out different shad bodies with them. You could experiment with different colors. Some of my go-tos, again, are depending on the time of the year. I like to use chartreuse. I like to use white. When the herring are around, I like to use the blue and white combo, black and white combo. The pattern here that you see, they call it a tiger pattern. So again, they make quality umbrella rigs. Also, when sand eels are around, I mean, these are your typical old school tube and worm rigs. When you're getting sand eels, like on the left here, you're definitely going to take out these tube rigs, and these are very effective to use. Again, with the wire, quality snap swivel. If you need to get these down a little deeper, you could always add a drail to them. Most of these tube rigs and shad rigs, again, what we like to do is let out enough line that the rig pretty much touches the bottom. You do 4, 5, 6 cranks, and you're right off the bottom, and you're in the target zone. At any one time on the boat, we could have tubes, 20 to 30 different tubes with rigged tube and worm rigs or shad rigs on our boat. Again, look up Niners. Very, very good equipment. And then another thing that we like to fish is parachute jigs. If you've ever gone out to Montauk, you'll notice 99% of the charter boats out there are what they're called snapping wire, and you'll see the mate in the back of the boat with the rod tip almost in the water, and he's snapping the rod to the side of the boat. And this is a very effective way to catch striped bass. It's mostly done out East Long Island. Not many anglers in New Jersey do this type of technique, but from time to time you'll see guys do it. I like to tip the hook. A lot of guys like to use pork rind if you could find it. You could also go to the clothing store and get like different pieces of leather and cut them into strips, 7 to 8 inches long. Soak them in some sort of fish formula, gulp juice, or put some attractant on it. Try different color combos, chartreuse and maybe a white piece, or do white with a black or darker piece. I also like to tip off the hooks with plastics. Eco Pro Tungsten makes a swing shad that's like 5 inches long almost, different colors with flake in it. It gives it a little extra action to kind of spice it up a little bit. But again, experiment with different types of tips. But the parachute is a very popular lure that is also used with combination with wire. Plugs, different types of plugs. One of my favorites, Guide Secret Old School Swimmer. These lures, what you don't want is a lure that while you're trolling is going to dive deep. For example, like the ones that go 30 feet or more, that have the big lip swimmers, the 15s, the 20s. What'll happen is, you'll let out your wire to the prescribed depth, and then what'll happen is those lures will go even deeper. So you want to find lures. I like to use almost like a floating lure that has maybe a little lip to give it some action. That's why I like the Guide Secret lure, because it's not a deep diver. It's a subsurface lure, so with the wire, I'm bringing it down to the depth, and I know it's only going to go maybe an additional 2 or 3 feet. Chartreuse, yellow, white, these are my 3 favorite colors. The silver with black dots is also a good color. Any of these colors are going to work for you. But I like to experiment with some of my lures that I put out. Again, try not to use the deep diving lures like the stretches, because they'll go down too deep when you're fishing with the wire. Now, bucktails. I got turned on to using bucktails probably about 10 years ago. A captain that I used to fish a tournament trail with out of Massachusetts fished exclusively with these bucktails. What I like about the Guide Secret bucktail is that it has a extra hook attached to it. So not only do you have the main hook, but you'll also have a stinger hook attached to it. This is also a rattler in there, so it gives it a little extra sound. These are some different ways that will rig these up. And one of the most effective ways that I learned from a guy out in Cape Cod was a really cool technique that I want to share with you guys. So just imagine having a 4 to 6, 8, up to an 8-ounce bucktail on about 10 feet of mono. And what you're doing is you're only letting out about 100 feet of the wire on both sides, okay? And what it's doing is the lure's just probably down about 10 or 15 feet at the most, but you're trolling fast enough that you could also get a good picture on your fish finder. Make sure that you're able to get good bottom and that you're able to mark the fish. So what'll happen is, as we're driving the boat, and why this was so effective in Cape Cod is because a lot of the area there it's very sandy. There's not a lot of structure. And what I'll do is, once I start marking the fish on the recorder, I'll tell whoever's in the cockpit to dump the reels. So what we're doing is, now I'll gun it maybe to 14, 15 knots. I'll gun it. I'll let out the 300 feet of wire, and you're actually sinking these bucktails into the sand, okay? And then what we're doing is, you're wearing a pair of gloves, you're grabbing the wire, rod is in the rod holder, you're grabbing the wire and you're snapping it about, I don't know, 3 or 4 foot swings, and you're just digging the bucktail into the sand, and you're gonna get, you'll feel them. The fish pick them up, they'll rip the wire right out of your hands. And we've won or placed in a striped bass tournament up in off Cape Cod and Chatham by doing this very efficient way of fishing. Also, you want to make sure you have a good set of gloves when you're doing this, because I'll tell you, I've had fish rip the line out of my hands. And you're just digging, you're beating the hell out of this bucktail. You're going to bring this bucktail up, and if it's got paint on it, you're not fishing in the right, you're not fishing it correctly. So you're snapping the wire with your hand, in a motion like that, and then as soon as the fish hits, you let go of the wire, and then let the line tighten, and then you reel it in. And the reason I was sold on this was the first day I ever fished with this guy, Captain Swenson, up in Cape Cod, is I saw him tie the wire straight to the bucktail. And my other buddy, who was with me or fished on our team, I said to him, like, is this guy nuts? I mean, he's tying the wire straight to the bucktail, not even trimming the tag end, dropped it and started digging the bucktail into the sand. And I'll tell you, he caught a fish when nobody else was catching them. Very effective way of fishing. Here you also see Guide Secret has these weighted sinkers. They're called rattling sinkers. We also could use them as a drail. It has a vertical as well as a horizontal rattler in them. So if it rolls or if it drops, it's going to rattle, which is great for attracting fish. Captain Frank Crescitelli and Greg Meyerson, who's the world record holder of striped bass, jointly worked on this sinker together. Here's some cool things you could do with the sinkers or the drails. These were shrink wraps that we tried. I saw it at a trade show once, pretty cool. You could also put different skirts on them. So here's a couple of different, maybe things that you haven't used if these are new to the market. So places that I like to fish and what I'm looking for. is primarily contour changes. And again, that's why your crew has to consistently communicate with your, with the captain. You've got in this area right here, this is a very, very popular area off of Monmouth Beach, New Jersey, called the Shrewsbury Rocks. You'll notice it'll go anywhere from 35, 40 feet, and some of the high spots could be 10 feet. So this is a graveyard of trolling equipment, wire, as well as shad rigs, bunker spoons, you name it, it's been snagged onto this. And also, I like to troll perpendicular to a lot of these little contour changes. One of the great things about the Navionics, Navionics Plus or the Navionics app is using this feature called the sonar chart. It gives you 1 foot contour intervals. It really allows you to highlight these structural areas that may not come on your typical chart plotter. So if you haven't tried it yet, download the Navionics app to your mobile phone or mobile device and give it a free trial. See if you like it, but I'm guaranteed that you're going to use it. Again, this is just one of many different areas along the Jersey Shore that we like to fish. It's just that in the spring and the fall, anglers can consistently troll this area, inshore and offshore, and catch striped bass while trolling wire. And when you approach an area like this, be aware of how the other boats are trolling. Okay, you're probably not going to see too many boats going north and south. Most likely, you're going to see them going northeast or southwest, and along these structural areas. Okay, so once you approach an area that has probably a good amount of boats fishing wire, just get into the groove of what everybody else is doing. You don't want to go against the grain here and mess up other people as well. Watch the way you're turning your vessel with the wire out there. You don't want your lures crossing. It's very slow trolling. So when you're making abrupt changes in your direction, course direction, you could drop your lures and they'll get snagged. What I'd like to do is bump up the speed a few knots when making a turn to keep my lures from getting snagged. But again, the Shrewsbury Rocks is just one very popular area. If you're anywhere on the East Coast and you find structure and bait, there's a good chance that you'll be able to catch fish. Here's another area. If you go south towards Island Beach, again, looking for these tight contour intervals showing depth of change, high spots, little valleys that you could troll through. These are areas where striped bass like to hold up. They're going to look for opportunistic feeding. They're not chasing your wire lures. What they're doing is they're waiting for it to go over their heads, and then they're going to take the opportunity to go after your lure. But again, looking for these tight contour changes, structure, current, tide changing, and that's what we're looking for when fishing. Now, again, one of the reasons we like to use wire, you're able to fish most of the day. Remember, with striped bass, they're very sensitive to light. And a lot of times on those nice spring or fall days when the sun is high, a lot of times the striped bass will go deeper and stay in the deeper water, and fishing with wire really gives you more opportunities to catch fish all day. Another feature that I like to use the Navionics app is to keep a library of all my tides and sunrise, sunset, and also it shows the moon as well. Water current is important when trolling, especially you're trolling slow, so currents can change the way and direction that your lures are swimming. Again, I like to keep a, a whole bunch of different tide stations in an area so that I know, where I want to fish, depending on if I want to fish before or after the high tide. I like to fish both tides because sometimes the fish are more active on an incoming instead of an outgoing. Just read the fishing reports, talk to other captains, and see, hey, yeah, we did really well at 10:30 yesterday. Well, go onto your app and see what were the tides at 10:30. Do a little research prior to going out that next day. Okay. In all my presentations, I like to talk about catch and release. Last year was the first time that we went a full year without killing a striped bass. We use these striper tubes so that even large fish, up like the one Captain Frank has here, we're able to keep alive, weigh the fish in, and then release them at the dock. So catch and release is important. I know a lot of people said, oh, last fall it was great, November, December, a lot of big fish like this. This is actually fish from last fall. But the problem was we were catching consistently large fish, and we weren't catching a lot of the smaller fish. So, you kill a lot of these large breeding fish, and pretty soon you're not going to have any fish at all. In the spring, you're going to get right now, it really started busting open up in the Northeast, New York's Raritan Bay area. Please release those fish. A lot of them are going to be your egg layers, and they're getting ready to spawn. A fish like this could have a million eggs. So they'll allow our kids and their different generations to catch fish. Keeping them in a live well doesn't always work. Again, the striper tubes were designed to keep fish alive longer. I've actually keep bluefish upside down like this for hours in the middle of the summer and release the fish. Also, we have a TV show called The Fin Chasers. Our first season really just aired on Destination America. Please look out for my Facebook posts. We will have our TV shows, I think, eventually on Amazon Prime or Netflix, so that you guys can take advantage of watching some of our shows. Season 2, we're going to get started filming in the next couple of weeks on our new 28-foot Buddy Davis that we set up for this year's tournament trail. Now, also, any of the products that you see in this presentation can be purchased. Please email Frank at guidesecret.com for product purchase information. If you mention you saw my webinar, Frank will make sure that he's going to give you discounted prices for all the products that we use. There are some things that we don't have available in the presentation, but for most part, we can get it for you. Also, if you're interested and want to learn more about wireline fishing, we have charter boats in Staten Island, New York. We also do trips in New York City. We have a boat out of Point Pleasant, New Jersey. And during the summer, for offshore in the fall, we have a boat in Long Beach Island. For charter information, email me at finchaser.nj@gmail.com, or you could call my phone number, 848-992-1842. Now, I really appreciate everybody who signed on. Our next webinar that I'm going to do next month, I didn't set it up with the date yet, so please look out on my social media sites. We're going to do a Mojo rig presentation with Captain Frank and Captain Jason Little, Captain Frank Wagenhofer, who last year got dialed in using the mojoing technique. We're going to share some of our tournament winning secrets with you as well. So please check out the website on navionics.com, join the mailing list, and look out for more of my webinars. Again, I appreciate you guys for attending, and I hope that you guys got some information out of this. Let me check. Okay, any questions? And Nick, lead core line. Yeah, we've used lead core line before. One of the types of lead core line that we have used is multicolored. It's a good quality product. What I liked about it is every, I think it was 10 or 15 feet, the color would change, so it would help you get dialed in with depth. If I go toe to toe with wire compared to lead core, we always outfish the lead core lines. So I mean, that's one of the reasons. I always have one on the boat, ready to use, especially if we're in there. You know, but I think the Wireline is much better. Steve, great question. How do you mark the wire for different depths? One of the ways I like to use is I get the old-fashioned bag, like ties. I try to get them in different colors. Also, if you could get old school phone wire, they have the phone lines that have like 10 colors in them. What I'll do is at those different lengths, I'll kind of twist the wire around it without making any kinks in the line. I've also used different colors of electric tape, very thin, the very thin electric tape I've used for that as well. The most effective way is to use the old-fashioned ties that the old baggy ties that you would get in in the kitchen. So go in and steal those before people use them. I guess they were more popular to use. Now they have Ziploc bags, but if you could get some, go to Home Depot or something and get a length of phone wire, that has multiple strands in them. Also, again, you could twist the different colors. So, and what I'll do is I'll mark with a pencil, like on my console, hey, first 100 feet is red, second 100 feet is yellow. Or I'll do 100 feet, I'll do even 150, 200, and 250. And that really helps me get dialed in with the length that I have out. And also, it just gets to be second nature. You'll know when you let the wire out, the trolling speed, your currents, or if you're getting snagged, reel it in a couple. Wireline fishing requires a lot of attention to your trolling line, and the action of your lure. So hopefully, anybody have any other questions? If not, please email me at agrossi@navionics.com or finchasernj@gmail.com. Give me a little time to get back to it. If we're not friends on Facebook, please friend me. It's Captain Anthony, one word, and then Grossi. Also, like our web pages, DNR Fishing Team, also Buddy Davis Fishing Team, and the fin chasers as well. So again, I really appreciate you guys taking time tonight. I don't know about you guys, but right now in New Jersey, where I am, it's pouring out and it's cold, so it doesn't feel like spring. Um, and I hope you guys have a very successful season this year. And again, if you have any questions or if you see me out on the water, please, I'd love to share our information that we've learned over the years. Okay, have a great day or a great evening. Thank you.